Good morning, Watson. Thank you for having me. Yeah, the Catch Them Young initiative has really started, and we've been able to sensitize about 500 children across 13 schools in 3 states. I mean, it's a slow start. It's slowly getting on there, but we've really seen a lot of progress with the children we've been working with, trying to engage them on anti-corruption issues. And it's been exciting to see how they've been responding, and even some of them are beginning to even write short stories on corruption issues.
You said it's a slow progress. What are you hearing as you move from schools to school and listening to the kids, their teachers and others about the big story in Nigeria? In fact, if you say the biggest story of corrupt practices.
Yeah, so moving from schools to schools, what we have seen is the fact that many of the children we've been engaging now know or see corruption as destruction. I remember a 6-year-old girl telling me, after reading Emeka's Money to her, she said, oh, corruption is destruction. And many of them tend to, I observed that many of them were linking the issues with Boko Haram, to corruption. So that was like the big story, the security issues, in their own way, and also like being able to link it to some of their schools not, properly being built or not having enough infrastructure, in their schools. That was some of the examples some of the children gave us on their understanding of corruption after we engaged them.
When you run a civil society advocacy on a subject as sensitive as anti-corruption, I'm not sure you have folks putting money in your bank account and say, go ahead and do it. This is a story that nobody wants to identify with. That is corruption. But again, anti-corruption is a different thing. The federal government is fighting it at its own level. So how is this advocacy being done? Because you were talking about several millions of children across thousands and thousands of schools across the country.
Yes, that's the challenge, Bosan. That's where I've been, trying to get some funding to expand it beyond the 3 states that we've engaged. So I know we've been in talks with UNODC. UNODC are trying to provide support to Step Up Nigeria to produce some of the books so that they can get to more schools. I'm also talking to other potential donors on the possibility of funding the production of the book so that we could disseminate it to as many schools as possible. So it's a challenge, actually.
Yeah.
And because it's also an initiative that takes a bit of time to show impact, I think it's not something that people rush into immediately, just because it's difficult to see short-term impact with that kind of advocacy, particularly with young children.
Have you been engaging some government agencies, perhaps the EFCC, perhaps the ICPC, in this program? On Twitter, we see the EFCC running some enlightenment campaign, and over the last few days, I've seen some stories of young people who says, look, I'm into legitimate business, I'm not corrupt. Are you getting some encouragement from the government circuit?
Yes, actually, we are in partnership with the EFCC, the Enlightenment Unit. So we kind of also leverage on some of their schools to do some of the anti-corruption sensitization activities we've been doing. So yes, we are in some sort of partnership with EFCC on this. They've actually been very helpful with trying to introduce us to some of the schools that they engage with they have these integrity clubs in secondary schools and primary schools. So we've been trying to partner with them to see how we can get some of our tools like Emeka's Money, into the schools to teach anti-corruption education.
But again, if you look at the kids and the youths and those who are women, girl education and all that, Where does empowerment come in here as a tool of, if you say don't do, you must also give a list of do's. So it's called do's and don'ts. So the don't is the corruption, right? So what are the do's here, and who should be providing it, and how quickly do you think we need to empower kids, youth, and women and girls to let this story of anti-corruption really sink into them?
Thank you, Boson. I think we need to actually start now. My current book is good that you mentioned that. I have just produced a new book called Halima's Vote, which actually speaks to the issue of, and tries to teach young children, young girls particularly, to take up, not to be scared, and to be able to challenge wrongdoing when they see things going wrong in society. So this is the time now for these things to happen. And Halima's Vote is one of the tools we're using to encourage like women, young girls who are going to be women someday, to actually take up that baton and fight against corruption.
Yeah, how much would you want to see happen very quickly when it comes to this anti-corruption program? What's your overview about it? What's your outlook?
Well, I think I would want to, I think government should, do more, around like convictions, let's see more people being convicted, for corrupt practices. I think we need more education, around values. I've been saying this and I'll keep on saying, I think it's important that society as a whole needs to be taught, values on why we don't need to engage in corrupt practices. As elections are coming, I've been seeing lots of campaign, and Step Up Nigeria as well is campaigning against vote buying. Halima's Vote, the new book I've written, focuses also on vote buying elections. That we need to don't sell your votes for short-term gains, but let's use our votes for long-term development. So we need to, the anti-corruption, the focus around anti-corruption should be more around like showing the link between what corruption does and how it affects society. And people need to also see, government needs to demonstrate more by ensuring that more people are convicted and sent to jail for corrupt practices. We need to see more of that so that, people can be encouraged and confident that the government is serious in the fight against corruption.
Well, that's very interesting. I'm sure you're working on a few other things which is around empowerment and all of that. So we thank you very much for your time today, the advocacy you are doing around the anti-corruption program, girl child education and all of that for youths and kids. Thank you very much. Live from our Abuja studios.